Hello,
Good evening.
hello, welcome. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Expanding the Realms. That made it sound all fantasy, which actually might be appropriate tonight, Doug.
That fits. Yeah, this is a night for
Yes,
rolling your R's.
totally, absolutely does. So we are back once again. For those of you who may have missed or forgotten, I hope we don't look too different than what we did a couple of weeks ago. But I am Jack Birkenstock Jr., one of the developers and designers of Branch Riders, as well as head of the Bodana Group. Its executive director. And who are you, fine good sir?
My name is Doug, and I am a chief collaborator on Branch Riders and a member of the Bodana Group board.
So, expanding the realms. We are now in episode 5, and we are continuing our travel down through the. We've talked about the mechanics. We've talked about the whole baseline of the system, where it came from, what its kind of non-therapeutic design was all about. And for the last, I'd say, 2 episodes, we've been taking you slowly on a nice little whirlwind tour of the realms because as we could probably say, that be the place where adventure is to be had.
Hmm.
So we last week, James and I were on, or not last week, oh my god, 2 weeks ago, James and I were on, and we were talking about the borderland and the burrows. So we're going to continue that journey, same as we have been, and we're going to get a little bit behind the scenes on some of these realms. We're going to talk about what they are, what they're all about, some of the kind of special features of each of them. But what we're also going to do is we're going to take some time, hopefully with the help of the quote unquote studio audience, if you will. We're going to answer some of the questions that we actually put in the back of the book. Because, like we had talked about a little while ago, one of the cool things about Branch Riders as an RPG is we kind of know through our own experience that most people kind of homebrew it anyway. So we were
Hmm.
like, yeah, here's some settings. They'll get you started. They'll, show you what you need to do, what you can do. Let's talk a little bit more about what could be in these possibilities. So tonight we have 2 focus realms that we're going to be talking about. And the first one is the chain. So, as a reminder to those of you out there listening, um, the names of the realms. I don't know if we covered this before on any episode, but it's actually kind of funny where people are
Oh,
like, when we're doing adventures, like a lot of times the players will like talk to the inhabitants of the realms, and they'll be like, "Well, you know how tough life is in the Crags," and I'm like, that's not how they refer to their world. And the players are like, "What?" I was like, "Okay." So then I had to explain what a beat cop was
it's like
because
someone saying something like "Here on Earth 616," like at the grocery store, and you're like, "What? Wait, how many Earths are there? What are you talking about?"
yeah, exactly. No, the names of all of the different realms are like beat cop nicknames. Branch riders gave these nicknames to each of the realms as kind of like secret code for like, yeah, I just had a pretty rough mission. Where we at the party? Oh man, like the name the party is probably the biggest giveaway when we
Yeah,
get to that. Is like, oh man, there's no emotion, no expression, no music. Wow, what a freaking party this is! Like,
right.
so the chain. Why, Doug? Do you wanna start us off? Why is it called the chain? And what are some of the things that make it special from your interpretation? Like,
So, do we want to go into the before times, like versions of this before the one in the book?
absolutely, man. Give it to us.
Okay. Because so the chain originally had like a double meaning. One was just like an island chain because early on we imagined just to have a variety of geography in the different realms that this one was going to be focused on islands in a vast ocean. And the second reason was because originally these islands were all floating, and so
Yes.
they were like some of the islands were chained together like physically
Yeah.
by like chains.
I
Um,
remember the intense days to weeks long discussions that we had
yes.
about, but No, magic pixie storyteller fairy dust cannot be the reason that these islands are floating. Like, just hand wavy them it, and we're going, what the
Yeah, I
fuck?
don't. I
Stop
remember that
asking questions.
I remember we had an idea for why they would float that was like semi physical ish.
It was, I remember exactly what it was. It was Dave's idea. That basically what it was that they were these creatures that when they ingested like the air or the water, they would fill with like this gaseous emanation that
They're
would
on the
lift.
underside of the island, and
Exactly.
they would like bulge and then
Yeah,
keep it.
it was like plankton or something that would like
Yeah, yeah.
or algae that would adhere
Well, it's
itself
like
to
the
the.
kelp that has the little like gas balls that keep it floating.
Yeah,
There's
that was
actually
exactly what
kelp
Dave's
that has
idea
that.
was.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh man, Doug loves like marine biology and aquatic life. He's gonna let, and you were like, well, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't remember the final decision, like why we decided to have it be physical islands instead of floating islands. I think it ended up being sort of like to bring it closer to steampunk rather than fantasy.
Yeah, it was
To have it
more
a little bit more
piracy.
grounded than floating islands would imply.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was more piratey in that. I mean, there are floating things, but they're
Oh yeah,
like airships.
ironically, there's a floating island, but
There is. Yeah. One of the
they're just
experiments of that
the
group
sta-
that we're going to talk about in a minute.
the standard island though does not is not floating. So now the chain just refers to island chains that make up these archipelagos that make up all of the known realm, so to speak.
Yep. And one of the things about this realm, now, again, going way back, if you really want to know like the behind the scenes information here. So originally, in the original conception, if you remember, we had the original heroes of the game, right? And Tesla, who was the original hero from the chain, who was the steampunk pirate, was actually like second wave heroes of the game. That came along after the initial five, where we were like, yeah, well, we want like initiative, empathy, and dexterity. We added those three.
Mhm.
And initiative was like taking risks, taking chances, which factors a lot into the construction of the realm. And pretty early on, like Bonnie, I think gets a lot of credit for the chain because like Bonnie she loves steampunk and the whole idea of like the military force of the Steel Imperium, which is like just this force that wants to take over everything, and there's pockets of resistance that are amongst the different islands and the different
Yeah, the
chains.
names of the three main islands in the realm guide came from her. Like that's like
Yep. Yeah, it was
kind of
her baby.
planning us all over this.
So one of the weird things about the original storyline was that when we first started conceptualizing branch riders and we were talking about like the curtain and how the branch riders came together. Now, eventually we kind of scrapped that backstory. Very, very pet minery, very like we don't need to know this. We don't need to talk about like where the barrier came from and how the branch riders got started. It was more in medias res, right? They're already
Right.
doing their thing. That's what's more important. But originally, because the Imperium discovered blight energy, that was the whole onus for, we need to do something because this Imperium has discovered this energy source that they call Tenebris. And Tenebris is blight energy that is actually like in the rock itself. They mine for it. They get crystals that are like, and then they filter it down and they use it to power all manner of weaponry, all of their technology, like airships and stuff. Like Tenebris powers the Steel Imperium's military goals.
Right.
And that then was like, I don't know. It was kind of like, okay, so it can't all just be about like freedom fighters and stuff. So we figured, who actually came up with the concept of the fog?
I don't remember who it was. I mean,
at this point,
I remember being there early in the discussion because we still wanted this idea of taking initiative, and and there's the idea that there's always more islands, etc. Um, but I wanted to like stay away from like an infinite ocean situation, or have sort of like a pure colonialist, like we're all just expanding into new islands and stuff. I wanted to avoid that.
Right.
And so I thought that we have boundaries for all of the realms that are kind of built into the realm. The boundary for the boroughs, for example, is that it's a city.
Yeah.
That's period.
Self-contained.
Um, and so the boundary to this area of archipelagos could be a fog, and then I thought it'd be cool if the fog comes and goes at the edges. So sometimes it'll come in and cover an island, and then on the other side of the map it'll move back and uncover an island. And so there's that, get what you can from an island before it's covered, or as soon as the fog retreats, there's like a rush to see what was there, like what is left behind.
Yeah.
And it adds a layer of like you could have mysteries or ancient civilizations or whatever.
We even added then the rib that, because this is one of the things that at least like when we've run chain adventures in our campaigns, it's kind of like the fog is almost like this kind of like Bermuda Triangle style thing. Like your navigation systems don't work, and like islands could be in there for hundreds of years, and all of a sudden one comes out and they're like, yo, guess what we just found? We got to act quick before the fog swallows it up. Now, there's other benefits, of course, like, well, if instruments don't work, that's the safest unsafe place to be if a Tenebrous Angel, which I have to say, the Tenebrous Angel is by far the most terrifying piece of artwork that Bear has unleashed upon the world. Everyone
I like that
everyone that looks at them, I mean, just so it's a Tenebrous Angel, so it looks like an angel. It's a tracking droid, essentially, that it is assigned to hunt you down and kill you. Once it has
it looks like an angel that's made of knives, is kind of
well, aren't they all? No, I'm just kidding.
If done right, sure.
If done correctly. So, yeah, and they're powered by Tenebrous energy, which is pure blight, which has some interesting story opportunities to it as well. But so we wanted this whole idea where, like Doug said, we didn't want to get into anything that was like colonial expansionism or like, ancient, in the deepest, darkest pits of Africa, that kind of. For obvious reasons, no, we're not doing
I apologize for my dog barking in the background. He's very excited about Brave Riders.
Yeah, it's apparently the chain. Maybe he thinks it's time for walkies.
No, he likes the role-playing game. I run one-on-one sessions with him. Yeah, he's awesome.
Bark Riders.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
It's the new hybrid. If it was April Fool's Day, it would be the new collection with Pugmire and Branch Rider. Bark Riders.
Bark Riders.
Write that down, Eddie. But no, it really is a neat realm because, we thought at first like, well, here's this imposing military force. And, it's like, okay, so that's kind of like a downer, kind of overbearing. But then we started to think about, well, with all these rich archipelagos and all of these, we started to build in things like, basically our version of the HMS Beagle. Right? Which is the Royal Ryland Reservatory, which is this flying like airship that basically takes all nature of ne'er-do-wells looking to escape the authorities, and it's scientific journey. We're gonna find new wildlife and new flora and fauna and catalog it and track it. And
it's like an anarchistic enterprise.
Yeah, absolutely. But we then started to build in some power differentials of like, well, the Steel Imperium's lead commander has two daughters, and one of them kind of followed the family tradition. The other most definitely did not. Opened her, I believe, their own casino, and for whatever reason, the Imperium's like, we're cool. Like, no one's asked questions because why would you ask questions? So then we start coming up with like different areas of like, different things. My favorite is where they do the roundup of all the creatives and all the scientific minds, and they just get disappeared.
Yeah.
From the realm because they're borrowing all of their ideas to increase their tech. So So if you want pirate adventures, the chain is definitely a nice, cool, fun place.
Hmm.
Um, our
Or kind of
main,
steampunk with a focus at sea. There's the one big steampunk element, I guess, that isn't that common or really covered in the Realm Guide is trains. There's not a lot. Like, we don't go over land travel very much.
yeah,
It's more of a steampunk on the waves in terms of focus. Although there's no reason you can't have a train adventure.
uh,
Um, we just
no,
don't lay one out in the book.
yeah. I mean, we have some pretty fun stuff because in the main location is Serenia, which is, of course, that everything is peaceful, everything is, everybody's happy because they have to be. But we have some good mysterious things. I think one of your cool inclusions is the Jarvis Orrery. I didn't
Oh
know if
yeah,
you
yep.
want to talk about the Jarvis Orrery, which what does it do, Doug?
You'll have to remind me. I mean, an orrery shows the alignment of heavenly bodies. Remind me what the Jarvis orrery does.
So the Jarvis Orrery is Jarvius, I'm sorry, was created by Jarvius Moldavi, master inventor, and
Hmm.
he was possessed just putting all these things together. He didn't really invent it, as completed it to someone else's blueprints, and we literally write in the book, and I quote, "The orrery has a rhythm but no discernible purpose. It spins, stops, and switches the order of its component at theory at random intervals." Um, no one knows. No one knows what it does. That's up to
I
you.
kind of I kind of like it tracking the time and relative position of the eight realms. Like that's what I would do with it. If I mean, you have an orrery that's unkeyed to anything, I would have it track the
Which
various
which
realms
would
and
make sense with the original
yeah,
story because if the curtain was started because of the Imperium weaponizing the Blight and they didn't
right.
want other realms learning about this, it might make sense at the anchor point of stabilizing all of the eight realms. That might be one of the anchor points. Maybe there are orreries in every realm. We don't know.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. But
That's
that's
up,
what
that's up to you.
I would key it to the realms, and then let the players speculate on why that is, and either have a good
Yeah.
idea or pick their best idea and make it correct.
No, absolutely. I mean, I've had fun playing Admiral Ryland, the head of the reservatory. Then there's press ganging. That's what it's
Hmm.
called when they steal all the creative inventors.
Right.
And we also have the Cogtillion. It's a supposed celebration for the masses. It's well, if we want them to eat cake, here's your cake. Like it's
Yeah,
just this
you have
big.
to make sure there's a
Yep,
potential dress up ball everywhere because that's one of the tropes of the genre. Like that's
yep,
you got to
absolutely.
have a ball and an argument and a duel and a what all that kind of stuff. I think features in steampunk.
Yeah, so it was created to be like we said, like pirate Indiana Jones style adventures you could do here. You could do any kind of standard steampunk. You could do renegade rebellions, any type of story along that line that you would want. So one of the fun things, and of course, as always, for those folks who are watching along, any questions that you have specifically about the chain or any of our decisions about it, please feel free. What Doug and I are gonna do is we're gonna like pretend a little bit, and I'm gonna actually go. Yeah, this is you haven't done this with us yet here.
I haven't.
Um,
No, no.
so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go at the
I
back.
never play pretend. What even is
You know,
this?
I am unfamiliar to these role playing games. But in the back of the book, there are 10 setting questions. And this was kind of, I won't say borrowed, or I mean, a lot of systems do it. It was inspired, I guess you could say, by some of the city building questions from games like Kids on Bikes or Kids on Brooms.
Yeah.
But each realm has its own set of 10 questions. And last week, James and I went through some of these questions, and we were kind of playing around with the recipe a little bit. If you, again, in the audience, have any thoughts about what it is that we're talking about, I mean, throw in some of your ideas because we overall, through expanding the realms, we wanted to show the limitless potential that this system has. And we've already been blown away. If you're a follower of the Branch Riders Discord in the Onyx Path Discord server, There's one of the contributors is like share the character buildups that they had and like some of the adventure that they were coming up with. So we're loving all of these cool ideas and concepts that people are
Oh
coming
yeah.
up with from this little box of Lego that we provided, right? So
Yep.
so we're gonna play a little bit here. So we're gonna if you had your book, you can follow along with us. We're on page 219.
That's right. Flip
That
all
was
the way
also
to the
kind of
back.
for you, Doug. So, because I know you have your book in front
I
of you,
found it. Yep.
I,
But
I
thank
could,
you.
I could smell the newsprint. Um, so, first question: the Blight is incredibly versatile. What other uses for Tenebrous technology are there? Mind control devices, an erasure grenade that removes the target from the realm entirely, reverse levitators. Because the question of what do you do with the blight, it is an interesting question with
Mhm.
blight energy, because as you and I talked about when we talked about the blight many episodes ago, many it was like two or three, but just the whole idea of the blight doesn't have consciousness. It literally is a force, but now it's
Mhm.
a source of
Yeah.
energy. So what do you think about the particular? Like, what strikes you like right at this moment? Something that that we could use Tenebris for.
I would definitely think that whatever it is, it would be the focus of a given mission or a given story. Like I feel like every time the Steel Imperium releases a new technology, they start off like the Galactic Empire, like they test it out on a border on a border realm, and then they use it on some political prisoners, and then they kind of like, have a big reveal of the weapon by using it on one of their enemies, and have that moment be like when the mission starts. Is your
Nice.
you're seeing the
Nice.
wreckage of an island, um, but I think because Tenebris is blight, so it goes without saying that it can't really be used for anything pure like pro-social. Like they're not going to have a Tenebris cure for cancer, right?
Okay.
They're just not, because that just isn't how the blight works. The blight isn't like a metaphor for technology where depending on the user it's good or it's evil. Like the blight is always deleterious. Um, but
Wow,
I
I
would
am not awake enough for that level of word. Wow, deleterious.
Oh, come on, it's a good word. So I
That's a
think it'd be really
75-cent word.
I think mind control would be really interesting.
I
Um,
well, again, it's like those weird parallels, right?
yeah.
That if you really look in the fabric of all the realms, we say this all the time. There are parallels between the worlds of why they're intertwined. Like that screams party to
Yeah,
me, like
exactly.
the open valley technique when we get to talk about
Right.
that yeah, Mike, well, because if the blight enhances emotional responses, imagine that weaponized.
Or it might not even enhance them, it might just sort of twist them. Like someone's joy has to be at someone else's expense instead of just being a pure like that kind of thing.
So a
Um,
tenebrous monkey's paw? What is wrong with you?
it's come on.
Oh,
It's
that's
how you make stories,
wicked.
man. It's how you make stories.
Oh,
Um, so I think it would be of the options there, I think a mind control device just can't be built. It's one of those things that you can't let this be built.
yeah,
Like
no,
whoever's
absolutely. Well,
you just unambiguously no.
see now in my, because again, for those of you who know me or have talked with me for more than 10 minutes, I'm absolutely obsessed with all forms of media from the 1970s. It was my era. It's I was born in 72. So in my mind, Doug, immediately I hear this little like and I see like this tenebrous scientist like in this Bruce Banner Incredible Hulk chair, like getting blasted with tenebrous energy, creating like a steampunk Hulk.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? It's just he's trying to unlock the secrets of tenebrous energy, and then something went awry.
terribly
Like
wrong.
that kind of
Right.
interest.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's a mad scientist kind of thing, or an
Well, we don't have mad
espionage type
scientists
story.
in steampunk.
Oh, of course not. No,
No,
never would
never,
happen.
never, never, never. None of
I
them
also
have
just
Jessica cages.
I kind of like the idea of an erasure grenade, um, just because
You mean like the band?
yeah, it's maybe an awesome erasure grenade is a really good band name. Um, but no, because it's like, okay, where do they go?
I,
Like
we,
you throw a grenade, I picture it like detonating into an inky dark sphere, and then everything in that sphere when it disappears is just gone. And then where does it go?
I would say where they go all depends upon the position of the orrery.
There we go. Yes. Okay. Good. Yeah. So
Not
whatever
the
realm
air.
is closest, they get shunted to that realm. But we've just described like 5 to 10 missions. To figure all this out, go to different realms, find the people who have been grenaded, stop whoever
Yep.
invented it, destroy the supply of grenades.
Well,
Um, you know,
or as kind of like a little bit of a teaser, or having to rescue this poor person who was orroried away. I don't know if that's a verb, but it is now
it is now. Yeah.
from the chain, and they wound up in the crags, which we're going to talk about in the next hour. And all of a sudden, Argatho, the Blightsworn, has to go, why does this child of Discord have its memory?
Yeah. Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. See, look at this, folks. Already getting tons and tons of ideas. So if you're not watching us live, please, if you caught this later on the Onyx Path YouTube channel, please, yeah, all of these are free for your use. And this is as much fun as we had making it.
And if
So,
you like them, go to Discord and tell us about it because we like talking about them. So.
oh, absolutely we do. So what's our next question here?
Let's see. Well, the next one on the list is list some discoveries that lie waiting on islands recently revealed in the fog. Lost societies, extinct creatures, mysterious technologies, new resources, etc. Um, I'm trying to think of what would be interesting, like, for a mission. Okay. I think it would be neat if there was an abandoned, a ruin or a facility, depending on the timeline you want, that was from before the formation of the branch riders and before the Nexus was built. And your branch rider team is sent to destroy the information there. Um,
Oh,
and and so
Black Ops,
once
dude.
and so once you figure out what might be there, you have to ask, why do we have these orders to destroy it? What's going on? And you've got a whole like nice sharp hook for
Yeah.
a
And
kind of like a
don't
Winter Soldier type story.
Yeah, don't read the information because we'll know.
Or not, maybe not even that much detail,
No?
because that would make everyone suspicious. Just be like, it has to be destroyed. The Imperium is about to get there. Hurry, hurry, hurry! Here's a barrel bomb. Put it
Oh,
in the center.
Imperium, that old chestnut, justifying everything we do.
Right. But then,
All right.
once you get in there, as you're describing this facility, just kind of like let the characters wonder, like, this isn't what we thought it was.
One of the things that always kind of fascinated me to the point that one of the adventures that we're still actually running. So, in case one of my kiddos is watching, I don't want to give up too much of the goat here, but one of the things that's always fascinated me was in this adventure, and I told this story many, many a time. This party basically was kind of like, what happens when the curtain tears? And I made
Right.
the dumb mistake of saying, well, I don't know. No one's ever torn the curtain before. So hashtag teen goals instantly, just that dare.
Right.
So they tore the curtain. So
Of
I
course.
was kind of like going
Not
over.
hard to do.
Well, I created a couple of things that I thought were very interesting. Where like I created this concept in my mind of like, what if there were things out there, because we all have like safe havens, right? Like they're all
Hmm.
like, hey, no matter what, this place remains pure. Like we don't know why, but this is like holy ground. Like
Right.
there's documentary about places where like bad stuff just doesn't happen there, right?
Hmm.
So what if there were like islands or plants or creatures that were blight resistant?
Right.
Like because they lived in and around the tenebrous that's in the very rock, right?
Right.
What if there were creatures? So, wow, what an incredible find that would be for a Branch Riders team to like, you could like kind of inoculate yourself
Hmm.
almost, or think you could anyway,
Yeah.
against the impact of the blight. So that could be a way to repair, because our little group is not going to be the only team that tears the curtain. I think people have like ravenous hunger to tear this precious curtain apart. But I always thought that that was a cool idea because I think it was one of our story ideas where like there's a whale that we had in our campaign who has the ability to navigate in the fog. Like it can
Hmm.
echolocate itself throughout the fog. I think that might have been a book creation. I'm not sure. But I always like that idea of like if a world is completely seeded with the blight like that and it's everywhere, there has to be stuff that is unaffected by it. You know what I
Or at
mean?
least
So I thought
affected
that would be,
less. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I think that would be a pretty cool idea to do something along those lines. You know?
It also makes sense that this, whatever it is, substance, tendency, lineage of plants, would be discovered in the chain first. Like that makes sense too.
Yeah. Because that's where again the big danger.
Like a fungus in a tenebrous weapons testing facility that a janitor just can't clean off permanently.
Oh,
And
dude, I
it's
love it.
and then someone finally tests it and they're like, Commander, this is blight, this is tenebrous resistant. And
I
now everyone who wants to fight the Imperium wants to get their hands on
on this
items
fungus.
derived from this fungus.
Oh my God, dude, you're finally giving me a reason to alter some of the plot structure of the Super Mario Brothers movie with John Leguizamo. And actually,
Something we've all dreamed about. I was thinking
yeah,
about it just now.
I lie awake sleepless nights just wondering how Luigi Mario and Mario Mario could look at that. Yes, folks, you've never seen
I
the.
am well aware.
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. Okay, next question. Um, Sometimes the Imperium needs to make an example to maintain law and order. What terrible thing that they do that people now never speak of? Is
Man,
that too real?
this one's almost too easy because there are so many fantastic historical examples and then also a bunch of science fiction examples and stuff. But I feel like it's got to be more than just like it has to be something chain flavored in some way.
Yeah, it can't be
Maybe
grotesquely obvious either.
maybe they found a way to remove someone's brain and replace it with tenebrous energy, and now that person is a special
Wow.
operative in their spy services,
Wow. A
and they just have
tenebrae.
no idea what this means. But there's just a super spy whose brain is all tenebrous.
So just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right. That's all.
Right?
That's the message for for the chain in general. But yeah, I was trying to think of something horrible, unusual, and also that would only take place in the chain.
I also like the mad scientist vibe on that one.
Yeah,
Uh,
like
that,
some crazy goofball did like some like yeah, some only a mad scientist would even consider this.
I call it the tenebrain.
Oh my god, that's perfect.
Right? The
The
tenebrae.
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 We should write that adventure and put it out and drive through RPG.
Well,
Battle the Tenebrain.
I cannot say nor deny the fact that we may or may not be working on an additional Branch Riders materials for future consumption, and
Oh yeah,
we may or may not be able to actually write out and stat a blight known as the Tenebrain. Oh, dude, we have
right, right.
wow. Okay, all right. Um, on one of the islands that emerged from the fog was an artifact from one of the other realms. What was it, and who has it now?
What is most interesting or problematic, right? So technologically, the chain is like I think of it as like halfway between the Crags and the party, kind of like.
I think it might be a pair of wonderful MeUndies, one of the proud not sponsors of Expanding the Realms.
Do you feel your waistline expanding? Well, MeUndies has sizes up to 5X.
And it's very parted. Whoa, MeUndies. Sorry.
Are you done?
All three people that loved that joke are howling right now.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think two of them were probably us. Okay. An artifact from one of the other realms. The funniest would be from the Rails. To have like someone's sick skateboard just like wedged in a crater. Like that would just be super silly. I'd do like a group of 10 to 12-year-olds. I might do that one.
Okay.
And now this raccoon guy has lost his skateboard, and he's coming for his skateboard. Just be goofballs about it.
Steampunk sick tricks. I love it.
I think a scary
Wait, so
collaboration.
Like steampunk SLC? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
I think so. Skateboard, or I think a scary collaboration would be if the authorities in control in the party and the Steel Imperium contacted each other.
Ooh.
I think that would be a really difficult mix-up, like crossover to deal with. So I would say it's an artifact from the party, and they are approaching being able to communicate with the party using it. And that's your ticking clock. You can't let this happen.
Oh yeah, in our big like cross rip event adventure that we did, like one of the big things was like one of the way that we did the story was they wound up in the party, which we'll talk about in a couple of weeks, and basically there was a branch rider who was captured during a mission, and he was a reformed supervillain from the Heights, and he was like, "Hey, party, you want to really control your populace? I got this thing called Cape Book, and it'll enable you to watch everybody, and they'll enjoy it." Like, and the players were like, "What? What monster would give the party that?" And I'm like, I don't know, the same GM monster that's going to introduce the fact of, well, what if Zepto from the terminal all of a sudden, like, you know, all these worlds and they're intertwined. Oh my gosh, that's cool. Yeah, that could definitely be good stuff. What's another good one? We're kind of coming not exactly close to the hour, but has anyone been able to fight off the surge of the Imperium? What was their secret in resisting their rule, and what risks did they take to maintain their freedom? I don't think we populated our city at all with like a major, like no Hogan's Heroes or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we have some places that we didn't want the Imperium to be everywhere because that's not the theme of the setting. That's just like one of the main flavors. So we have a few islands that are independent or relatively independent, right? Where like you don't have to deal with the Imperium, or you have to deal with it the way you might, I don't know, deal with the U.S. government on Guam. Like it's there.
Yeah.
It's functional. They're local bureaucrats, but you're not fighting off Tenebrous Angels every Tuesday. We have some places that are like that. I mean, so in the setting, it's set up so that the bad guys have the best technology. And it's a technologically driven setting. So any good guys are going to have a technology disadvantage. So, or good guys, you know, maybe they're bad guys too. Any opponents who are successful. And just thinking through history, you know, the way to make up that difference is in like audacity, right? So, like,
all right,
you might have an advanced technology, but I can get a dirty bomb into a suitcase and, you know, walk into a city, right? And that's attainable. So I would have to think that, or the way I would do it is I would have them be a group that is like calling all freedom fighters. And they have some public, like they bring down a flying ship of the Imperium. Like they do something devastating in public, kind of like blowing up the Death Star. And then you go and investigate, and there's something else worse about them. because
Right.
they're people who are so violent that they balance things out with the more technologically advanced group. And I'd have that interesting, like, we have to stop an empire driven by the blight, literally.
Yeah.
But do we have to use these guys? Like,
Well, it brings up the old Star Wars argument about the rebels are horrible people, like all those innocent people on board the Death Star. Like you killed contractors and like
right.
you
And
know,
I
like
and I,
the
and I get that. I don't,
you know,
I don't necessarily agree with that one. But but it is out there, and
dude, why do you
I
make
would
coffee
try.
for the Empire?
I would try to avoid like getting diverted in that way. Although it'd probably be hard to avoid.
Yeah.
But I like that question. We have an enemy that seems existential, like, but how far can we go?
Eh,
Right?
yeah.
And to have that be like a pressing question.
I often wonder if it would be like, let's say, okay, so if everything is powered by Tenebris, right? What if there was some brilliant inventor that
I
had
was just seeing the comment from
oh,
Plastic Age Plays. A contractor's personal politics factors in have just. I mean,
no,
okay.
no,
My hesitation when
no,
we were talking about that was partly like, where you work. Like, I'm not saying anybody deserves any, but
no,
like,
no. That is a clerk stand right there.
yeah,
That is a
absolutely,
clerk
yeah,
stand, absolutely.
absolutely.
But no, like what if these resistance fighters, the way that they take down these ships is there's this brilliant inventor, and he's like, I've been studying this tenebrous energy thing for a while, and I figured out a way to inject a chemical agent into the tenebrous purified system to make it unstable.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Like
So
like
now
I've
we
I've been
can,
able to add an adjutant
right.
to their
Well,
energy source. Well,
we
it makes
found
it
like
blow up.
anti-tenebrous, and when it touches tenebrous, they mutually
Yeah.
annihilate. Yeah,
Boom,
exactly.
boom, boom, and people are like, "Yeah, but what about all the innocent people in the blast?" Hey, man, worth the price of freedom. Sorry,
Right, exactly.
I,
Yeah.
well, those people aren't free. Well, they're free from worrying about the Imperium.
And then what's your next plan? Oh, we're going to inject some of this anti-tenebrous into the power plant in the capital city, and we're just going to end this war right now. And you're
Yeah,
like, you're gonna what?
yep, no, absolutely. Oh my God, that may or may not be another adventure chain that I pick up on. Who
You
can
can also,
tell?
I guess, you can see where my mind goes when we ask questions about setting. I'm always like, what's a pincer that I could put on the players to make them make a choice? Like that's my thinking
Oh,
is always like, what's a dramatic, interesting choice, and
yeah,
how can
well,
I
it has to
funnel
be.
you toward that?
Right. Otherwise, why do your choices matter as
Right.
character? Which is again, it just speaks to I won't say the realism, but like the grit that a lot of these worlds and a lot of these realms have. They have to carry some aspect of a reality to them, an internal
Yeah.
consistency. You know. All
Yeah.
right.
That there's a sense of I want there to be like I love combat in a game as much as anybody. But I do like when there's, I guess, some weight to it. Where like, even if I fight a monster, it's still, it's a dangerous situation, and there are parts of it that I don't like, and I wish could be different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I
No,
just want angst in my games, but
I don't know if it's angst. I think it's the thing that there are very few examples of true black or white in
yeah.
any kind of system. There's all either shades of gray. You
And I
know.
also don't want to fall into like the both sides. Well, or heroes of both. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, but
Sure.
sometimes we can pick a side and feel okay,
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And again, you
or
can.
feel conflicted.
Well, that's one of the genius things about this, because I mean, one of the things that's always been interesting when we talk about all the different various realms and the settings is like, when I discuss K-pop, people are like, "Oh man, that's too ripped from the headlines." I was like, dude, we've been dealing with social media for like 20 years. What are you talking about? Like in one form or another. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it's ripped from the headlines, but how much do you want to play into that? And yeah, we could say that there are definitely a lot of real world parallels to something like this. And how much you want to play into that's the spice rack at your
Right.
table.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You could tell a story in the Heights and never reference Cape Book. I just
Absolutely.
it's a background thing. You're Batman investigating. You don't care.
Yep. And you
Um,
could tell a story in the chain that doesn't involve the Imperium.
right, exactly. Yeah, you just be.
You know?
It could be Wind Waker. You could be doing some like cat sailing around, discovering cool islands, exploring them for the Nexus. Like there can be missions that aren't an emergency.
Yeah.
Because I'd assume that every time new islands emerge from the fog, the Nexus is going to want updated nautical maps. They're
Yeah,
going to
so
want
maybe, hey,
data.
no big deal. We just saw that there's a couple of new things that have come out. We just want it's a simple
Yeah, it's a milk run,
yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah,
It's a simple recon mission.
right.
All we want is eyes on the ground, dude. That's
Yeah,
it. Dun, dun, dun.
yeah, and of course things happen, but I like having that option, and I like how we've put forward a system where you can approach problems in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
when.
so from the room, before you and I have kind of a closing question, because we're coming up to our hour break soon. Are there any questions from those who are watching and enjoying along with us? Just to see if
Yeah, there
anybody
there are a
has
couple in there.
questions. Yeah, there's few in there.
Yeah.
Didn't know if they had any questiones about the chain specifically or any of the things. I mean, we have Tenebris Stingers, we have
I mean,
Goliath.
you could ask about anything. That's or
Yeah,
whatever.
absolutely. Open book. Although I do
We're not
like,
gonna be like that's off topic. That's,
yeah,
nothing's
no,
really
no,
off
no,
topic.
won't have any of that. Um, but no, I mean, I guess in general we wanted, this to be kind of one of those high adventure kind of areas that wasn't, a lot of the other kind of trappings, and it just grew into something a lot more than that.
Hmm.
And again, I keep hoping to be able to get her to one of these to one of these little exposés here. But yeah, a lot of that, like Bonnie had pages of like I think that was more of a cutting down than Dave's Borderland. Like when
There
we
was
talked
there was a lot for both. There was a
there
lot for
was
both.
so much good stuff in there
Yeah,
because Bonnie had really fleshed out a lot of this, and
and I
it
think a lot
really
of that.
do there.
I think a lot of that survived. It got boiled down
Yeah, it was
to a
crunk.
nice thick sauce. It was
Yeah.
like
Ooh, I like that. I like
like a whatever French phrase there is for that when you
yeah, it's
boil a lot of thing to a little bit of thing. It's a nice sauce, right?
who are our chefs out there?
Not
Uh,
me.
all right. No, not me.
I
Definitely
just made tacos because that's easy.
not. Well, I mean, one other, kind of
Let's
interesting
do one more.
One more. So, has the Imperium only permitted themselves and approved persons to take to the skies? What other flying vehicles exist, and who has access to them? How is trade, warfare, spycraft, etc., affected by this air power?
I like this kind of question.
That's
So
the question we asked.
I would play. I mean, I think I don't know if like biplanes are technically diesel punk or whatever, but like I would be okay with anything up to a very early biplane or triplane in
Okay.
the chain. I think they should be built running Tenebris first. I think all the new technology, especially warfare stuff, should be Tenebris.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. We have
and I think
all airships in my campaigns. Like,
yeah, I think it also depends on what the character's looking for. Like if someone's in the chain and wants to be an airship captain and have a lot of airships, then there are a lot of airships. That's fine.
yeah.
I would like them to be rare. I would like there to be like when the Fire Nation released its airships in like season 3 or whatever of Avatar. When it's just sort of like, oh
Right.
no, like this is terrible.
Yeah, this is not going to end well for
Yeah,
anyone.
and we don't have anything approaching this kind of technology. And then I would look at Leonardo da Vinci's illustrations of
Ah,
like war gizmos he wanted to build, and I would take some of his goofy flying machines, and I would have some of them that are like they kind of work. So I'd have like sweaty mad scientists pedaling frantically with like this thing that's a spiral top over their head,
so like
giving
those
them
old
lift.
newsreels of all the flying machines that are just complete bunk.
Yes,
Oh my
exactly.
God.
And
How
I'd
many
have a
races
weird kind of
that
like,
you need?
technology race between zany inventors and Imperial March tenebrous technology.
I love it, dude. There were those magnificent men in their flying machines. It's an old movie.
Exactly.
Check it out. It's from the 60s. Wow. No, that because I've had folks before, and again, we always say whatever your table wants, man. That's what you give them. Because I've had people go, well, why don't you have flying islands? And I'm like, look, if you want floating islands, just have floating islands. Like
Yeah.
again, Serenia is one location. It's one city in
It's
a
like a little
vast realm.
archipelago of nearby big islands, but
Yeah.
there's more.
Yeah, if
Or
you want to
take
have
or take the islands and lift them in the air.
yeah, whatever you want to
They
do.
still function about the same. They're
Yeah, a dungeon
um
crawl in the sky. Why not?
yeah, why not?
Castle Wolfenstein in a steampunk realm. Who knew? Many people knew.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think so. Castle Wolfenstein would be hilarious with like
uh,
flintlock, just like boom, and then
hold on. Wait. No, wait. Yeah, I know. Sig Heil, whatever. Okay, hold on.
boom.
There's still 30 of
Oh,
us.
we have a question,
Oh, hey.
or maybe from DM Mad Maxi. Using what
Hey,
your
what's
players
up,
say across
Max?
the using what your players say across the table as world building, story building is 100% the way to go, and makes it easy for you, the GM. Definitely, yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I fully admit in almost every presentation, podcast, interview, whatever training that I've done, I most of my great ideas were not my ideas. They were literally
yeah.
lifted off of what players whispered to each other at the table.
I
So,
learned this lesson late. I've
oh,
learned it, but because I approach GMing as like a writer, and so my start was to have a whole bunch of stuff that I've laid out and then like gently set you within this place that I've detailed, and then you just don't do anything that I've prepped, even though I prepped all this stuff.
oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
and then I would just prep the stuff that it looks like you're interested in, right?
Yeah,
So it took me a while to accept and absorb the kind of ways that you can make GMing easier, including, hand the players a mystery and then wait till they say the most interesting solution, and that's the solution.
yeah. Hey, you figured it out. Way
Yeah,
to go, buddy.
and I'm happy and they're happy and everybody's good. Um,
Absolutely.
but that
Well,
was it. Took me years to come around to that.
but it's part of that dance, and there are
Yeah,
different ways to dance.
right.
You see, I have a new group, and they are quickly learning. Any jokes? Wouldn't it be funny if remarks or thoughts about bad things happening can and will be using? Oh yeah,
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh
absolutely
yeah.
they will. So we are setting up to take our 5 to 10 minute break for the evening here, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking all about the fantasy rich trope realm that is known as the Crags. So we're going to kind
Da,
of,
da, da.
famous it ever was. If you are just joining us and don't know about this wonderful game, lots of ways to find out about it. You can, of course, go to www.branchriders.com, where you can find links to Drive Through RPG, which is where you can find PDF or print on demand copies of not only our core rulebook, also our condition cards, our exposure tracker, and coming soon, if you are a therapist, teacher, practitioner of any kind, we will also be shortly unveiling our facilitator's guide to the general public. So, that's about it for this Mo. We're going to go ahead and take a break. So we'll see you in 5 to 10.
Let's say
And
10. Let's say 10.
say 10? Yeah, so go
Yeah.
bio, liquids, all that good stuff. And we'll see you in 10 to talk about the Crags. Hello, welcome
Hello
back,
again.
everybody. Yeah, thanks for sticking with us. Hour
We
2.
found our way back.
Yes. The journey home again. Was that what the
Correct.
title of the Hobbit was? The journey home again?
There and back again.
There and back again.
I was thinking more of the journey home. Like you, me, and like a golden retriever have crossed the state of Pennsylvania to get back
The
to
journey
Twitch
home.
stream.
Truth be told, for those of you who did not yet read your Monday meeting updates, Monday meeting minute notes from Onyx Path, yes, Doug and I, as well as our families and a bunch of our friends, we all went down to Universal Studios, Florida, and Florida in general, to have a vacation. So we are coming to you fully rested, sort of. Because who the heck comes back
Uh,
from vacation fully rested?
who is
Uh,
fully rested? Like, what is that even like?
People who don't do anything, I think, are fully rested.
I guess. I mean, when I
Yeah,
don't do anything, I'm still tired.
I, that you,
The voyage home. I
yeah.
would love to bring some whales with me. I was just
Oh,
thinking, if it was me, Jack, and a golden retriever, I'd go pretty much anywhere. I think that's a
dude,
fantastic trio.
what? We'll write an update on the road with Jack Kerouac. It'll just be,
Let's
just
go have some. Let's go have some Dave adventures with a dog. That sounds fantastic.
you stay away, Disney. You're gonna ruin it and make somebody voice the dog that I don't approve of. I don't know.
I'm good.
So
I'll tear myself away from the wealth and power of game writing and
yes,
go right into
sitting on
living
our
off the
small
land.
millions. I
That's
decided to
right.
try to use a fantasy trope to bring us back.
There you go.
Our
There you
small
go. You got a
side.
dragon. Good
Yeah.
going.
Wah! So we are next talking about our next little push pin in the Atlas of the Realms. Atlas of the Realms, I like that. The Crags. So to keep our pattern going, Doug, why don't you delight us with an overview of the Crags, my brother?
I have to delight you. So
Entertain me.
The Crags is our pseudo medieval fantasy realm.
Good
It
night,
is
everybody.
supposed. Yeah, exactly. And we're done. Um, but it still has to be a wide open kind of place. And so it is a pseudo medieval fantasy realm that includes whatever magical critter you're imagining right now. Yes, they live somewhere in the Crags. Absolutely.
Are there
Um,
unicorns?
yes, there are unicorns,
Are
and there
there
are unicorn.
ogres?
There are unicorn centaurs. There are ogre tars. There
Ogre
are
tars.
there
Do
are
ogre tars
centacorns.
play
There are
centaurs?
also there are centacorns.
Centacorns.
So for an
Tigers.
idea, like for an inspiration, coming up with names and traditions and that sort of thing, I'd like the idea of going with sort of Norse, late Iron Age, medieval Norse. We got far afield from that, but that's fine. But I like to have like a touch point, because when you say medieval, do you mean medieval northern India? Do you mean medieval China? Do you mean medieval Denmark?
Right.
Medieval Spain? These are very different places, right? Um, so in the Crags, the magic is in the very land, and the way that people practice magic is through items. So basically, people are able to create magic items or have a magic focus to cast their spells to accomplish things. This was partly just a workaround for us because we were looking at designing a skill system,
Oh my
and
god.
then how do we what do we do with a skill that's a magic skill that only works well in a couple of our realms, or a science skill that
Right.
only works well in a couple of our realms? And so what we hit upon is the skill of tools, which was going to be your ability to do things in a realm using the tools that are commonly available.
Yeah.
So in the terminal, that is syncing two drives with different operating systems. And in the Crags, that is using a wand or a potion or or a ring or a bell or a chalice or whatever
Yep.
to accomplish magic. It also kind of helped us imagine what magic looks like, right? Are people chanting? Are there runes cutting things? All that sort of stuff.
Yep. And,
Um,
and I mean, in fairness, if you wanted, because again, this series is all about expanding your realms, right? Like if you
Sure.
wanted to have, if you want to borrow, the D&D style thing of like if you want a magic to have a verbal component where you have to do chants or whatever, okay, then
That's
maybe
fine.
it's communication instead of tools because you're not
Right.
using an artifact or an item. You're using the spoken word to be able
Yeah.
to do that, right? So then it's
We
like a
just yeah.
creative communication. Why not?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. We just wanted it to be limited in some way because when you say fantasy, you can mean a huge variety of things, and when you say magic, you can mean in both cases an infinite variety of things. So we had to kind of nail it down somewhere, um, and I think we felt like using magic through items just kept it simpler, kept it concrete, and just easier to track, at least for me in my own mind.
Well, if you remember, Doug, we did a pod. I can't remember nor would I at this point name the podcast because I can't remember. But we did a podcast interview, and it kind of like everybody was like, "Man, cool setting," and everybody was like all juiced, and then they were like, "So what's your level system?" We were like, "We don't have one," and they're like,
I remember
"Wait,
this.
what do you mean you don't have a level system?" And you're like, "No, you don't have a level system." So everybody has pyrokinesis as a gift. It's like the same gift. I was like. Well, it's how you use it. Like that's kind of like, but where's your like level 1 versus your level 10? I was like,
Right, yeah, they were looking for
not
like a spell
rocking it. It's
progression
okay. It's
and that sort of thing. And we were, I mean, we toyed with that idea, but
for a
you
while we
know, but we never wanted one realm to have a special complexity that none of the other realms do.
right
Um, and
or to
so
have to do that level of bookkeeping because it's the
also
same.
that,
It's the same as in the Heights, the superhero realm, where you talk about different like superpowers and stuff that folks have, which are pretty much their spells. They're just
yeah,
flavored differently for the genre. So yeah, one of the things though to add to this discussion that makes the Crags a little bit different, because like you said, it has all the same trappings as most any other fantasy kind of realm. You have kingdoms and monsters and beasts and quests and magic and
right.
all those trappings. But the one of the things again, because we wanted to make sure with each of these realms is how does the blight manifest itself, or how does the blight present a challenge to the people of this realm, thereby what challenge does it present to the players?
Right.
And so with the Crags, and it's interesting that the chain and the Crags are being discussed in the same episode, is that in the Crags, the blight also has infected the land itself, but not just the land. The blight is in the ecosystem.
Right.
So plants don't grow because, again, truth be
Or they
told,
grow. They grow weird. I think it's. I picture
yes,
it more as that plants are more likely to be carnivorous. Like,
yep. So because the original skill convention of this realm was all based upon that little dwarf chibi guy that we talked
right.
about, months ago. Resilience. It was the skill of resilience. So we had to figure that the world had to exhibit this kind of idea of people are struggling. Why? Well, they're struggling because there isn't food. Why isn't there food? Well, what if the blight creates desperation and longing and fear and anxiety by there not being enough?
And also just monsters.
Yeah, just
Like I see
creating
what
fear.
like I see because I don't know if we've gotten into this, but each of the realms in each of the realms the blight appears in different ways that we hope are distinctive to that realm. Um and so the way the blight appears in the chain is through Tenebrous technology, and the way that the blight appears in the Crags is by making it a medieval fantasy type world which is normally full of monsters.
Right.
And so like why is it hard to live there? And how do we explain all the monsters in the world? Because like the islands of the chain aren't necessarily full of supernatural monsters, right? That's a particular fantasy trope. So why are they full of monsters? Well, because the blight is in the wilderness. It's in the world. And so everything is more difficult. The weather is supernaturally powerful. The plants and animals are more likely to be supernaturally dangerous, and there are things like hippogriffs running around in the forest that don't even have much of an explanation, because you're like, look, outside is terrifying. We have our little village, it's surrounded by a wall. Outside of this village, a very kind of Iron Age view of things, like outside of this village, it's just scary.
Yeah, it's death out there.
Right, there's a path you can follow to get to the next village, and some people leave the gate and never come back. Like, and so it focuses on that sort of points of light assumption that traditional fantasy often has, right? You've got the Shire, and then Bree, and then Rivendell, and but like everything in between is desolate or scary. And that also fit nicely with resilience. Like, what kind of people would live here? Adventurous, tough, ingenious, armed people. Like,
and to give you an idea, so in the adventures that I've run, I've actually crafted my own little town that is not from the book, because of course you're going to do it.
yeah,
And I created the town called Erskine, and the whole thing about Erskine is it's, that kind of stereotypical small kind of hamlet where it's like, it's a one street town where, yes, you have huts and you have places where people live and everything, but the only meals are community meals. So the only food that anybody gets is where the proprietor of the local inn does a big bring whatever you can. We're going to make a stew from whatever we can gather together. Everyone in this town eats together. We all know each other. We don't trust strangers, not because we don't want to help people, but because we don't know if those are agents of evil in disguise. So yeah, like, so there's an added, that's one of the things that I like about each of the realms, is that the players already have a difficult mission because they have to accomplish what they're doing without talking about what they're trying to do. So I also like the fact that these settings and the reality behind these settings that we build in so many other barriers for players to overcome.
Right.
Which, again, what was it, the thing you always say? It's like, not challenges, or like limitations breed creativity or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And so in ours now, they have to like trust these people, and some of the groups are kind of like, well, I start handing out food to people, and I'm like, okay, let's play this out, how this is going to be. So now you might get robbed because you're just trying to help and show them you have food. This town has no food. So you're literally like walking into a barren wasteland with a smorgasbord under your arm. That may not work out very well for you, right?
Right. It could make you popular, but it will definitely get a lot of attention.
There is famous, then there is I don't want to be famous, right?
And I like challenges in missions and adventures in general that are unusual, and because of like role-playing games came out of war games, blah blah blah. It's not that usual that your mission in an adventure is get this town to trust you. Like that is an unusual adventure hook, right? Because usually, the normal like murder hobo type person doesn't care. Like, they don't care if you trust them because they're just sweeping through town. But I like, just as a side note, I guess, I like presenting challenges like that, and I also like how Branch Riders handles that potentially as robustly as a dungeon delve or a fight or whatever. Like, your little things you do to get them to trust you still use your approaches and your skills and maybe your gifts and your equipment and your thinking. Like, it's like solving any puzzle, only this is a social puzzle as opposed to a physical one or a dangerous one.
Yeah, I mean, the realistic appropriation in any kind of fantasy setting. If I was any self-respecting innkeeper that wanted to continue having a business, I would take no adventurers ever for lodging. Yeah. Because they're always being followed by the warlord whose seventh son they've murdered, or, the gold that they've stolen from the coffers of the evil priest or whatever. It's like, no, you go away. Like,
first it's you, then the unquiet dead, then your debt collectors, then a dragon in disguise, and I'm like, I'm just trying to run a Motel 6 here. I'm not I'm just trying to like make ends meet. Come
Nice.
on, man.
So we decided to, build in that idea that, even within the monsters that we portray, because one of my favorite examples of just different blights in different realms is we have a being within, because we in the book we have blights that are creatures, we have blights that are forces, literally forces of nature. We have blights that are devices, constructs. But we also, as an example from the Crags, we have a blight who is a blight infected individual. And this is a thing that we have called the shrouded soul. And the shrouded soul is literally, I don't want to get too close to real world kind of application, but let's say that you locked a person in a room a la the Ludovico technique from Clockwork Orange and made them doom scroll for like 7 weeks straight. No sleep, no rest, no whatever. Like the level of hopeless that this
Right.
person feels. So they're just angry and bereft and like, so yeah, you could thwack this person over the head and kill them, but that's something that branch writers kind of frown upon because they're just as much a victim as anything else, right? Kind of
Right.
going back to our conversation about the chain. So this brings me to another one of Bonnie's inventions that I think we took and kind of accelerated, if I'm remembering this correctly, and that is Argatho the Blightsworn.
Oh yeah, this was this is Bonnie, and
Yeah,
Bonnie and probably Dave. Like
yeah, I
all day.
cannot wait for y'all to meet Bonnie. I mean, Bonnie's participated in some of the Onyx Path virtual cons. She's run
Mhm.
some adventures, and like we said, almost every blight in the book has Bonnie's fingerprints on it. So Argatho
Yeah,
is
Argatho was to me appeared whole cloth. It was just like and lore. It was just like
yep.
NPCs and an
Oh,
agenda and a thing and
he,
a ritual and a
yeah,
and this,
he
and I
belongs here.
loved it because Argatho is a mission engine, which is
Oh
what
my
I want
god.
all NPCs to be, antagonists or otherwise. I want to read their thing and think of 10 missions connected to that person.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
and so no, so the first question a lot of people say is, well, but the inhabitants of these realms, they don't know what the blight is. So why the hell do you have a guy called the Blightsworn? Like, what's that all about? Well, okay. One, so you can identify how bad of a bad guy he is. I mean, let's be
Right,
honest. But also, his world is surrounded by blight. Crops don't grow. Like, water supplies are not reliable. The forest where you get fruits and vegetables, like your garden could attack you tomorrow morning. Like
right,
nothing is sacrosanct, right? Or nothing is you know without peril. So Argatho's whole deal is, man, things are going to hell in a handcart. That's just the way. Like order comes out of like he's like take Nietzsche and like accelerate that philosophy of chaos comes before order, and
right,
that's Argatho's philosophy. He's like, we just gotta look, order is gonna come. We just have to let the chaos work its way through the system.
right.
So let's dive into the chaos. Let's accelerate the process by creating more chaos, because that's gonna bring it to its end point. Chaos cannot exist forever. So he's
Right.
a flawed ideologist.
Yeah.
But Argatho has discovered a little something that we call the Ritual of the Moonless Night. And it's this spell that Argatho has learned. And we're not quite sure again because we didn't write why he knows it or how he knew it.
Sure.
But basically, what it does is when he does this ritual, he is able to reach through the curtain, not intentionally, but he pulls people randomly from other realms. They just get sucked through a magical portal from where they were, and they just plop. They are in the middle of the Crags in his gigantic magic ritual room with completely wiped memories. And he enlists them with purpose
Right.
to be his agents of chaos.
And
So,
he introduces them to his cult.
yep. And it's kind of fun when players are like, oh, these things, okay, whatever. They're like citizens. I'm like, yeah, citizens from the Heights. What? Yeah, citizens from the Heights. you remember that realm that we haven't talked about yet in this series, but we will next week, where everybody has superpowers?
Right.
So, yeah. So his emissaries, maybe he gets somebody from the burrows whose memory is wiped. They're pure animal. So
Right.
now he has werewolves, lizard people, their
Yeah.
fantasy tropes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But and again, like you said, Doug, just the way that these guys get down to evil, so much fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely so much fun in any kind of story.
I like that, Argatho is, to me, a good villain because what he's doing is obviously wrong, and will have obviously bad consequences. But from his point of view, I get why it makes sense given what he had available to him and the choices he made. Not that they weren't good choices, they weren't, or not that they were good choices, they weren't. Um,
Right.
but you can sort of get how he got there, even though you're like, I have to stop you. You intend a thing that I think is bad, but you're
Yeah,
not. You're not crazy. You're not random. You're
right.
not, doing
It's
evil
one
for
of
evil's
those
sake.
right. It's like one of those hero moments where the hero's like, well, I don't know, guys. He kind of has some good points. Like, oh, what are you
Yeah.
saying? It's like,
Right.
well, I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry. I lost my head. His pamphlets are really cool.
Right.
Yeah, perfectly said, Max. The best villain is one you can get the players to relate to.
Yeah. You can see like, I like, and there are people in history and in the world like this where you're like, I hate what you're doing, but I sort of get some of why you're doing it as I learn more about you or whatever.
Yeah, and
Um,
there's other backdrop stuff like there is a queen of
right.
Aradil, which is main city, and she's holed up in a wall, and she has her Knights of Verdari, which is kind of like our insert of the Round Table. So she sends her
Right.
knights on quest for resources and to do good and inspire the people. They're like, yo, why are you hiding behind walls? Like, why ain't you out here suffering with the rest of us, lady? Like, what's the
Right.
deal? You know what I mean? So
There's a sense that she does still run like a court and nobility, and so they control lands, and they presumably are supported by taxes. And we don't go into detail about how the system works, but it's kind of like, yeah, it's a feudal system with the
yeah,
heat turned up, and you're gonna have all the issues you might have with that system.
yeah. And
You know,
and if your table wants to delve into political intrigue, absolutely you can.
awesome. Yeah,
It's built in to the system that you can absolutely do that. I don't know how much more before going into kind of our questions, because that seems to be one of the most fun things that I can
yeah. I
kind of
mean,
correlate to tonight. But I mean, are there any?
magic through items, the blights in the land. Um, Basics about some of the setting. Oh, the reason it's called the Crags
Oh,
is
yeah.
because so we wanted it to be like we imagine like rugged mountainous highlands because that's just a hard place to live even without a blight.
Yep.
And so we just pictured like, okay, if we're looking at resilience, our chibi is a dwarf. This is gonna be in the mountains.
Yep.
And so we had this idea that like at a certain elevation below where you live, there's like a cloud cover that just kind of obscures whatever's lower.
The more.
And like below that cloud cover, it's not clear what's there.
Yeah.
Is
Just
it in
don't be
perpetual
there.
twilight?
Yep.
Right. It's the kind of place you go if you're an adventurer. Um, but it, again, it provides sort of a boundary to the setting, so we don't have to create 8 fully fleshed out planets. We could just have like a little
Oh,
corner of a place.
the Laglands is what we had titled them. It is
Oh yeah,
literally.
yeah, yeah.
Yep, the Laglands, and then we also have the Skogor, which is the forest that the Blight has immense power over. So,
Right,
kind of think a more nightmarish version of the Wizard of Oz forest.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
it's worse than that.
it's the
So,
dark forest. From every story
yeah,
ever. It's yeah,
insert trope again.
it's the primordial Mirkwood.
Branch Riders is a game that celebrates pretty much every trope
Yeah,
that you could possibly imagine, and gleefully does so. Like we
they're
make
they're
no apologies.
they're an incredibly useful shorthand. I can tell you, you look on this forest. This is the name of the forest. It's kind of like Mirkwood. You nod
Yep.
your head, and we can move on with great shared assumptions about what happens next.
Yep. So, I mean, some other kind of neat things that we threw in here. The first hunt, if you wanted to do things that are kind of like, very inspirational kind of storytelling, this is the celebrated rite of passage for youth in the Crags that,
Right,
they go together because you always hunt together. You never hunt alone. And it's
right.
about how well you work with each other and recognize the strengths that each other brings to the problem of finding your first hunt. And, it's not even that the first hunt is about bagging a beast. The
Right.
hunt is about recognizing the potential of the community
Because
together,
sometimes you see the
you know?
beast and you're like, "Oh, this is a beast that we run away from."
Yep,
this is this is not
absolutely.
this is not an eaten beast. This is a runaway beast.
Yep, and then from that, you never refuse a huntsman's aid. It's like
Right.
one of the core philosophies. So again, as with every other chapter, we definitely provide you with enough people, events, mission starters, all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
now let's make with the questions.
Let's
What
go
do you
through these
think?
questions. Let's back of the book questions. Let's do it.
All right. So, how are Argotho and the Children of Discord? You're going to hear that phrase a lot in these questions because that's a major portion of the realm.
Right.
Active in the area in which the mission takes place. I always like to play that the Children of Discord are Argotho's eyes and ears.
Yeah.
That they're always going into towns, they're operating in kind of deep undercover in some areas, just kind of like skulking about, trying to hear word of, any strangers, anybody asking too many questions, anybody that is displaying powers that are
Right.
similar to those of the Children of Discord, which means as a branch rider, you're a natural target because, whoa, you got scaly skin like one of the Children of Discord got scaly skin. What's up with that?
Or even like if one of them has a flashlight. I mean, like I would even have like mundane things because like in the ninth century, a flashlight is magic. Like that's incredible. Um, and you could have just had one in your pocket because you were walking your dog in the party when you were sucked into this ritual. Um, yeah, I like that it's a little bit Twilight Zone-ish because the
Okay.
indicator you always have for Children of Discord is they don't have a history.
Yeah.
And they've created one, they faked one. That also makes it really interesting because I think of them as sort of having joined a cult. And I think about like imagine joining a cult without a life before the cult.
Yeah. The cold
So
is ever.
like you just arrive, you're like, I think my name is Steve, maybe? And they're
We
like, Steve, we're your family. Come join this cult. Argatho is our father. He is a benign and wonderful father who will care for us.
Yep.
And you're like, I guess this is where I am now. Like, I don't.
Well, and we've had parties that have used some of the different mental and emotional gifts to break this
Yes,
whole like climbing
of
back into the
course.
Children of Discord to like retrieve their memory, and they were successful in
Yeah,
one until they rolled three zeros, and then I was like, oh, you, you broke them, and the player's like, no, I can't break him. I was like, you broke him.
yeah,
I'm sorry, and people are like, man, that's mean. I was like, no, I'm a therapist. I know what that's like to.
right,
You go poking around in the attic, you could rustle up some wardrobes that you don't want to open.
right.
Insert mixed metaphor here.
Yeah.
Um,
But I
but
love that because we also have sprinkled through the game are, gifts that work with memory and gifts that work with recall and gifts that look into people's mind. Like there's, you could
dude,
that might be the
imagine,
tool.
could
What's
you
that?
imagine a player using eidetic memory as an other against the Children of Discord?
Yeah.
Like, literally, it's Spock
Yep.
from Remember. Like it is.
Right.
Ah! And
I
then,
love that. That's fantastic.
well, because I mean, what I would do with something like that is like, yeah, they remember where they came from. They also are remembering all the crazy crap they did when they were a freaking child of Discord. Now they have to reconcile in an instant
Yeah,
the horrible things that they did when they were not themselves, and that doesn't matter.
right.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I'd be like, okay, this NPC is now taken out with two advanced conditions based on what they've dredged up, and now you deal with that. How do you deal with that? You
yep,
know, they're on the ground screaming and crying and saying, "I'm sorry" over and over again. That's so you did what you wanted, but that's what they're
yeah,
doing. What happens next?
yeah.
Um,
Careful what you wish for.
right.
So, right, awesome.
Yep.
Um, are all the children of Discord bereft of their memory? How have some of them worked towards fitting into the Crags? It's an interesting question.
I like the idea that some of them get away. I like the idea that some people, even with amnesia, are going to be really suspicious or just don't like
Oh,
joining things,
yes,
you know?
absolutely.
And so they're sent on a mission by their father, Argathar, or whatever, and they're kind of like, uh-huh, I'm out. And so you could have, like, a suspicious person, right?
Like that. Yeah, grab the dingus from the Mahuzas. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, sir, Lord Argatho. I'll be back.
I'll have your Mahugas right here, sir.
Yeah.
So I'm, like, what I'd be thinking is to see if I could have the players in a situation where they all think this is a spy for Argatho, so they like jump the person or something. Meanwhile, they've just escaped and they're trying to live their life and they hate Argatho too. And so
Yeah.
they'll have some information about where he is and what was done to them, you know, but you have to like not it could totally alienate them when you jump them to get that information.
Well, and it's that again, one of the sales pitches that I make all the time for branch writers at booths and at cons and stuff is I go, how many times have you played with a game of just a table of murder hobos and people always give that kind of roll of the eye like, oh god,
Right.
it's like our game is like the antidote for murder hoboing. I feel because I
Oh
mean
yeah,
you can. It ain't gonna work out so great for you because your exposure is gonna like go from you have the exposure tracker of like a Maserati. Like
right.
you're from like 1 to 10 in 0.6 seconds. Like good job. Like,
Yeah, and we built it that way on purpose, right? Like there's plenty of murder hobo games. We're covered there. Um, I like a game that rewards. Well, I mean, you got to build a game to reward the behavior you want, right? That's
true.
all of game design.
Yeah.
So, so you know, how do you incentivize not being a murder hobo? One way is to not funnel everything in the game toward combat. Another way is to have interesting ways to solve problems that don't involve fighting. Another way is to write into the game challenges that cannot be overcome with fighting. Um, you know, and if you lay those things out there, I find it's really rare that someone's committed to murder hoboing. And sometimes I think they're just trying to find a way to engage with the mechanics. And like, it's like my brother-in-law. So we're playing old school Essentials, and he plays the thief. And so he's a new gamer, and so he figured his goal and personality and approach to every problem was thief.
Right.
So he just like, so he's just stealing everything all the time. And after
Someone's gonna have a problem with that.
right, and people did, and you know it kind of reined him in. But like, I think sometimes it's like lack of experience, or you don't
Oh,
see
yeah, absolutely.
clear options. You're like, what do I do? Well, I've got a pickpocket skill. I guess I try and pickpocket, right?
Yeah, it's whatever
Push the
paper
button you
tells
gave me.
I can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah. Okay. Here's an interesting one that I think you will like. In the area where your mission takes place, there are hidden people thought to be long extinct. Who are they, and where are they hiding, and what do they want?
So a classic fantasy answer would be like True Fae or something.
Okay. I
And I would be curious to explore there being magical creatures that maybe they're not really affected by the blight.
okay.
Um,
I like what you're doing here. Yes,
so
yes.
they're not normal mortals the way everyone else is. Maybe they have a different relationship with time. So maybe in their own legends, there's a time, before there were realms, before there was a curtain. But just to have like this kind of magical weirdos, that have access to information in a different way from the way that the branch riders tend to get it from their blight, from their exposure tracker, from the nexus,
Right,
from
right.
their stuff, from their skills, and just kind of like, and also it's a Fey theme to kind of go sideways into things and be unusual. So I would say what I would pick there would be some Fey, like the
Okay.
classic Fae that don't have souls in the Aristotelian sense or in the St. Augustine sense, right?
Right.
And so they're not affected by the blight. Like they see it and they're like, oh, it's gross, but they don't have to touch it. And then just explore that space. Like, what kind of questions do the players ask? What kind of answer would Tiziana and Oberon give? Like, what kind of answer would Puck
Right.
give? Right? Um,
What
and just
manner
have
of
like maybe like
strange
a
question you ask?
maybe like a very special episode where like you're sort of half in the Fey realm. You go through a toadstool circle, so you're kind of in the realm, you're kind of not, and then you wake up in the toadstool circle. Was it all real? Like, but lean into those fairy
Oh, I
tale
like that.
tropes for once. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I would. That's where I'd go.
I have to admit, one of the things that I'm forever locked into, like one of my go-tos, which I need to force myself not to always dive into, is the idea that everything is like a renegade branch rider who has run away from the service. Like everything in my mind is that, because one of the things that we did with the exposure tracker when we adventured in the Crags was they were, looking for this it's one of the missions in the book. They're looking for basically Rathsilia Mine, which is an old branch rider facility.
Right.
And their whole job was Argotho is encroaching upon this area. You need to destroy it and destroy all evidence of branch riders wherever here. It was an older branch rider. We lost contact with them. You got to go figure out what's going on. And one of the things they were like, well, how am I going to find this? And I said, well, go ahead and basically give me a knowledgeable tools roll. Okay. So they give me a knowledgeable tools roll. I said, well, the interesting thing about your branch rider exposure detector is it can detect blight energy. But one of the other kind of interesting factors about it is it can also detect realm-based energy. Because how do you detect that the blight is high when the normal background radiation of a realm is low? Right?
Mhm.
That's the disparity. So
Right.
you can see, oh, wait, why are we in the Crags and there's a dude from the rails here? Like he
Right.
has rail signature. So when I said that, yes, you can do this, they were like, oh, I want to look for any other realm energy possible.
Right.
And immediately my brain is like, dude, there's tons of other realm energy here. They're all children of Discord. Blip. Like,
Yeah.
and it was literally that just I sneezed on the radar screen. Like that was what their reader looked like. But I like the thought of and this is an idea I've been tooling around in my mind of like someone who is kind of like what Artha wants to do. Like people who have trained themselves magically to legitimately channel like this bizarre healer
Mhm.
that can erase blight by it's the ultimate in compassion fatigue. People who can absorb blight from people into themselves, but what they've been doing is they are taking the blight energy from the people and from the land. So they're resurrecting the land, but they're redirecting the blight energy that they're absorbing into the mountains, going, well, they're mountains. Like they
Right.
mountains don't grow plants, so it's fine. And they basically created a cul-de-sac of blight energy. And they live in an oasis in the middle of like ground zero,
Right.
not realizing that there is, a negative impact to it. But no, it's probably borrowed from an old episode of Star Trek. It's like,
Probably, but
no,
I
we
mean,
we have paradise here. Do not ruin this
oh,
for us.
that yeah, that's definitely a Star
Yeah,
Trek thing.
classic Star
Yeah,
Trek.
your
Perfect
paradise is
villain.
flawed.
Yeah.
But so I like this idea. It just occurred to me that would be interesting because the blight is malleable and mutable and can take different forms. So what if like a self-sacrificing mayor found a way to take on all of the blight in a region into themselves and concentrate it in their own body, and they thought they'd be sort of like a scapegoat where they absorb all the blight and then they go off into the wilderness to take it with them, leaving their community, their beloved community, free of it. I thought it'd be interesting if like what kind of person would make that choice, and as a branch rider, would you encourage them to make that choice, or would you tell them don't do it, man? And then second, it'd be so interesting if that self-sacrificial mayor then becomes like this horrible ogre that stalks outside the village, because like the blight hasn't been overcome, it just got moved.
Yeah.
And what an
Or
interesting like
adapted.
and like maybe a previous team encouraged the mayor to make this choice. Your team maybe thought it was a bad idea, and you're sent to deal with the aftermath of this, right? And then you get back to the Nexus and you argue with the team leader from that team about like, why'd you make this choice? And there's this cool scene where you like fight over dinner, and I love stuff like that. But
no, it's totally a great thing because it could be a combination. Like, what if that mayor was like descendant from these ancient people who had channelized it and channeled it and lived in the cul-de-sac, and he was of that ancient bloodline, so you can meld those two together.
Yeah.
Because
the mayor has some reason that they can do this, right? So they've discovered a ritual. They come from a weird bloodline. All the fantasy tropes.
They have an item.
Whatever. Yeah, they have a gem embedded in their chest. Whatever it is. But that never occurred to me. But I think, especially for the Crags, that would be a very thematic choice, right? Because am I... and it also has that obvious parallel to, like, am I taking on too much? Do I have poor boundaries? Am I, like... I mean, there's all the other stuff you could talk about with this. But I like the core question of, like, if you really could absorb a bunch of bad things from your neighborhood and ruin your own life, but then leave, like, what kind of person would do that? And how would they be remembered? And what happens if they become the monster in the dark now? Like, that's just a really interesting... Like, it's a kind of story that I want players to go through so I can watch them
Doug,
work through all this stuff.
We haven't come up with a new setting for the Crags yet.
It's true.
We could totally flesh this piece out here.
Okay, I think real talk. I think we should. I think this is it.
Yeah,
I think it's this oasis settlement that, on its face, seems to have solved the blight.
The notes
your exposure drops to 0 when you walk into this settlement. You're just like, what is this place? And then there are just legends. Oh, dude, it's a dragon.
He became a dragon.
The mayor became a dragon. Because what's the worst monster, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The worst misunderstood in our...
Right. But, like, what's the top of the mountain for fantasy monsters?
Great.
Dude, so the mayor became a dragon.
Oh.
Didn't mean to.
I didn't mean to be a dragon.
I was trying to be this altruistic person. Like, I made a choice that, maybe a previous branch rider team did encourage me to do it, because it's like this, this will make a bunch of people's lives better. And you did. But then what happened to you as a result? And like,
that's another drop that I like making on players every now and then, when just regular citizenry drop the B word and they're just talking like, oh yeah, you're a branch rider, right? And you're, what?
Oh
no. Oh my gosh.
We got time for one more. We got 6 minutes.
Yeah, I would say here. So last one, I think. Why do the people of the Crags believe their magical runes work? And we say one of the following reasons or another. They were taught to the first people by dragons. Hey, scratching them in stone. They are the words of creation used by the first maker, or they are the secret language of the gods, given in exchange for some sacrifice. Dude, we already wrote the notes on this, man.
I know. Yeah, we added some possible answers, which I don't even always like to do. Those are all pretty decent answers.
Binding demons to objects, fragments of a
Yep.
lost language. Anything said in that language becomes true. Wow, we threw in some
Yeah,
good stuff. We did a good
we
job of this
did.
book.
Look,
Wow.
look at us, man. We did a good job. So I think it'd be neat if, like, if we have the mayor who becomes an altruistic dragon, like whatever. We have the dragon mayor. I think that would be a cool bridge to have the runic language used for magic is the language of dragons. And that's
Mm.
part of why dragons are so formidable. I mean, this is also 100% ripping off Ursula K. Le Guin. Yes, steal from the best.
Look, folks, if you're dungeon masters, you've already big borrowed
Look,
the goal. Come on, we
I'm
all
not gonna I'm not gonna improve on Earthsea, so I'll steal some of it. But that would be a cool thematic tie to
yeah.
introduce that idea if the players were interested in, like, where are these runes from and why do they work, and can we learn the runes because they're players, can we learn the Crag runes and then go to a mission in the Borderlands and use the runes in an artwork? What happens?
You
Great question.
are cursed.
Great question. Love it.
Oh,
But that could be a cool, like, thematic connection.
yeah. I was gonna say there. I didn't know if there are any questions to you because I want to make sure to leave time for any audience questions. If any of y'all have any questions about the Crags or anything, as you could see, we clearly had a great time writing this book, and we're going to continue to have a great time writing other Branch Riders materials. Like we had said a little bit earlier, we are just sent out the backer email. So if you're a backer out there, we're backed at the facilitator's guide level. Please check your Kickstarter updates for Branch Riders. It literally is one of the last things that we need for our fulfillment. That the code for your draft version of the facilitator's guide that was a tome mainly written by Doug and myself. Doug is the editor. He is the voice of Bodana. He is our primary editor.
I do a lot of revising. That's
A lot, dude. You are the voice of Bodana.
I mean, it's fun for me. So
I am the mouth, of course, of Bodana, but Doug is the voice.
unparalleled mouth.
So folks that back, they get about a week to look over everything. Please, as we always say, no page XX here comments. We'll fix all that in post. Don't worry about it. But
Right.
after that week where everybody goes through, then we will make any final adjustments to the errata. The link to errata is also in your Kickstarter email. Once we're all done with that, the final version will be available on Drive Through RPG for everyone to consume and purchase.
Or in person at Origins Game Fair in June.
I am hoping that with the approval on that
hopeful.
doc that we'll have enough time to order some.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say it's available, and then come find me. And if it's not, I'll give you a hug and an apology.
But yes, that
And try to sell you something else that we have.
yeah. Well, I was just gonna say. So, final plug. Again, go to www.branchriders.com for all things Branch Riders. All the links to Drive Through RPG that you need for your print on demand or your PDF copies of the game and all the needed materials for it. And yes, if you're going to be going to Origins Game Fair in Columbus, Ohio, that is June 17th through the 21st. Bodana will be there. I believe we're at booth 1502 this year, which is going to be a wonderful little booth space. But we will have copies of Branch Riders, the exclusive Branch Riders themed minis that you can only get from the Bodana group. Plus, we're bringing a lot of new kind of cool stuff. We have some dice punishment and dice reward devices. We're going to introduce you folks to an experiment that we'll be conducting whether dice perform better by a punishment or reward.
Classic Psych 101 question. Yeah,
classic behavioral conditioning right there. Get your Skinner notes out.
Exactly.
But no, thank you for everybody who has been joining us for this series. Hope you are enjoying. what we are offering. We will be back next week, where it will probably be myself and James, and we will be introducing you to two more realms. We're going to be talking about the
The
heights
heights and the party.
and the party. Then the following week, Doug will be back, hopefully, so we can finish out
Probably.
our trip through the realms. And then James, the lovely Captain James T. Kirk, or James D. Kirk, David,
Yeah.
will be starting our actual play adventure soon after that. But also tune into our special panel at Onyx Path Virtual Con, where we'll be talking about the future of Branch Riders and what you can expect. But thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next week. And remember, there are 8 realms, but one mission.